Good evening, everyone. How are you all doing tonight? Hope you're all doing great. Looking forward to this I think it's going to be interesting live. I've been putting things together for it. And I hope you got by the thumbnail exactly kind of what it's going to be about tonight. And the reason we weren't here last night again is the weather. I mean, something with Alabama and Wednesday weather, I don't know. It just does not coincide. Hopefully, we ain't going to have that issue again next week. But either way, if we do, we will definitely always have it the next night. So hopefully it won't be that way next week. So who we got in here? Let's see. We've got Dave G. I've learned a lot. Catherine C. I hope you're all doing great tonight. Susan, Kaz Chick, Gina B, Blackhead Politics. I like the name. Dina, is that right? Danae. Yes, I see the hyphen. So maybe it's Danae. Dee Dee, Donna. I hope you're all doing great tonight. I sent Dave and Nellie the link, and they may come on and join us as well and talk about this thing. I know we talked about it extensively last night on the phone, and trying to get things together. There's a few more things I wanted to put into this, but honestly, I just didn't. Dave's texting me right now. Is the live still going? I told him I'm live now. Okay, but yeah, we talked about it. There's some more things that I wanted to get in here to be able to show you guys, to kind of, give you an idea of what that I'm talking about, really. And a lot of you probably already have seen these things and looked at it kind of sideways as well. But we're going to go into it. I've got some things uploaded I want you to look at. And so, yeah, I think, like I always say, even if nothing or any theory we have here tonight is, to what you believe or anything like that, at the same time, hopefully you can maybe learn something, because I always want everyone to try to learn something after our lives. You always need to learn at least one thing every day before you go to bed, even if it's something useless. It's still, you always need to learn something every day. Knowledge is power. Vanessa, Chastity, Lynn, Scout, I haven't seen you in a while. I'm glad to see that you're with us too. Linda, it's good to see all of you. So I guess we'll get kind of right into it. Dave, I just texted him, let him know I'm live. He may come up here as well. And if not, we'll just go right into this. Okay, so I guess the main thing we're talking about here is the confession, okay, and the Reid technique. Of course, it's very, very obvious that they did use the Reid technique on Chris, right? I mean, that's no secret. And if you're not real familiar with exactly what the Reid technique is, Dave sent me something that broke down the steps. And what I did is I went in there, and in each step, I tried to coincide it with what happened in his confession. And we'll be looking at that here in just a few minutes. But not only, personally speaking, not only do I believe that was it only the Reid technique they used on him, I also believe they had prior knowledge before he even took the polygraph as to what happened, and not just where they were at, there were also things that was said that led me to believe in my theory that they even knew exactly, not just where they were, but exactly what happened to them. And I'm going to show you that as well. And I'm going to point it out to you where it was in the confession. Okay, we got Dave here now. Hey, Dave, texting me. Are we still live? I am live.
Hi, Kimberly. No, I don't know what's going on with the internet here today, but it sure sucks.
Oh, mine's horrific. My Spectrum has never came back since last Wednesday during the storm. So I'm having to pull on AT&T right now. That there's definitely no way I could use a camera, and I have one bar. So, I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to play everything on here that we've put together to show them without my internet completely flopping on us, because I would be really pissed if that happened, since that how long it's took me to put this together. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I was just telling everyone what we talked about last night on the phone with Nellie extensively about how we believe that not only was the Reid technique used, they also had prior knowledge, not just of where they were, but what happened. And it's not just something that we have came up with on a fly here. This stuff, they literally, I don't know if they let it slip, or maybe they were mind readers. Maybe they were fortune tellers, or maybe it was just a damn good guess. I don't think so.
No, I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so
so.
either.
I don't think so. Go ahead and put one thing up at the moment here and just let it be playing while we talk. It's pretty interesting. Everybody's probably already seen this. If not, it's very interesting. Whether you've seen it or not, it's still interesting to know exactly when it was happening. So here, this is the drone footage. This drone footage was being done somewhere between, what was it, Dave? It was between 12 p.m. and 2 and 3 p.m. that this footage was being shot. And
Yes.
this is the actual footage here, the very first footage it was being shot. I mean, this is before Chris confessed. This is before Chris even, he was in there talking to Tammy, I believe, when this happened, but even his polygraph was not completed when they was doing this. And a lot of people is going to think, well, his truck GPS, that's what led him there. Well, that's arguably a damn good reason for them to have been there. However, why did they wait till the 15th after 10 a.m. to go out here and do this? Why hadn't they already done this if they got it from the truck GPS, right?
That's
Makes you
right.
wonder. Looks to me like with 2 missing children and a missing pregnant mother and the dad acting just sketchy as hell. Okay, here's another thing. Yeah, the GPS, but Chris didn't make it a secret from the get-go, from the moment he spoke with law enforcement in his house on the 13th. He didn't make it a secret where he went straight to on the morning of the 13th. So why did they wait until between 11 and 2-ish to get this, to run out here and get this footage? Looks to me like with 2 kids, they would have been out there all over this. But they weren't, not till the 15th, right? And I thought, Dave, this was a good place to start with this, of showing kind of what we're getting to here on how they had prior knowledge before Chris even confessed. And when people wants to come at me with the, well, his truck GPS, well, I just can't go with that because they knew on the 13th. And it looks to me like they wouldn't have waited till the 15th until about 10 a.m., 11 a.m. to go get this, right?
Right. They also knew about Nicole too. So
Oh, yeah. We're fixing to show that too.
yes.
And a little more. So does anybody out here watching us right now, do they believe that it was just a coincidence that on the 15th, after 10 a.m., is when everything started happening, like literally everything. And then just as soon as they got Chris to say, yeah, I did this to Shanann, everything basically stopped and wrapped up. I mean, literally, like they were hardcore on this investigation. But then it's like after 10 a.m. on the 15th, it just kind of, only thing they was wanting was confession. They didn't even want to really investigate nothing else, right?
Well, that's the whole thing. If actually everything happened the way we think it happened, there would be no reason for them to do anything else on the way that they're thinking that it's all Chris and nobody else, or it has to be Chris and nobody else. I should say so.
Well,
That
Tammy
is
actually
their narrative.
told Chris. Yeah, Tammy actually told Chris in the interview. She actually said, Chris, if someone else is involved, you wouldn't want to like throw them under the bus, would you? And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that to them. I won't do that to them. I mean, I've got it. We're going to look at it. But yeah, I mean, and I don't know whether Tammy was letting things slip before she gave him the polygraph, that she knew exactly what in the hell happened. I don't know if she was letting it slip, but if it was just a coincidence, then she's really good. Because if you ask someone, okay, for example, if you ask someone, what would you do to make somebody disappear if you murdered them? Okay, if someone asks you that, your first thought is going to be usually probably a weapon, right? Or Chris actually threw out some good ones. Tammy said stab. Then when Chris couldn't think of nothing else, damn, she offered something. She offered something to him. It was just too convenient, in my opinion, the things she said.
I don't know, like every time that she talked to him, everything was a leading question too. And if he wasn't answering, she'd be answering it for him or suggesting an answer for him.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, like we say, it is obvious. They used the Reid technique and they knew that's what they were going to do. I believe they had already decided they were going to use the Reid on Chris because Chris was a perfect candidate for that type of interrogation. He was perfect. They could tell that he would be easily broken down and he would be easily manipulated. And since he thought so highly of himself, and he always wanted people to look at him like he was such a good guy, they
Right.
knew that the Reid would be so easy to use on him, and they did.
I don't know if anybody actually picked up on what you just finished saying, but the Reid interrogation, not the Reid interview, it's the Reid interrogation, because that's exactly what it is. It's
Yeah, that's what I
to
meant.
interrogate somebody, and it doesn't matter if it was a witness or if it's actually somebody that's being accused. They still
Right,
interrogate that person. They don't interview them, they actually interrogate them. So, sorry, go ahead.
exactly. No, no, no. That is true. It is a hell of an interrogation tactic. Dave also let me know, I wasn't even aware of this, but they're not even allowed to use the Reid anymore in Canada because of all of the false confessions that it brings. I found that very interesting. And did you say what, 7 years it's
Yeah,
been?
it's been about 7 years since we've been able to use it. I was actually certified 4 times for the Reid interrogation techniques, and yeah, it's a mess when you're using it because you're actually accusing somebody and you're putting things into their mouth and everything else, and it just a lot of us just didn't feel comfortable even using it, but that's what we were taught how to do and everything else. It's just not right whatsoever.
No. No, so many false confessions with it. We can, I mean, how many? We can just straight off Brendan Dassey. Um, Joe, a lot of people don't know Joe, but he's a guy that I'm working with to get out. Dave has shown me several that was put in wrongfully convicted due to false confessions using the Reid. Now, the Reid is not taught anymore here in America. They don't even teach it in interrogation classes. They do not, because it does lead to too many false confessions. So there's a good reason they want when they do false confessions, and yeah, of course, and I'm not saying that Chris did a false confession because um I mean he didn't, he confessed to killing Shanann, right? But it is a hell of a technique to use. And it's not always good. But it definitely will give a confession. That's for certain. So, Dave, you think we should just go ahead? Okay, what I did is I broke down, Dave sent me the Reid technique and the different steps they use. And that's what I was going to be saying right here. Even if you know or you've heard about it and you don't know exactly, there is actually steps that they use to do the Reid technique. It's not just questions off the top of their head. There's a reason they do these sorts of things, and there's steps they have to do. But the steps don't always align. Like, instead of starting at step 1, they may start at step 7. It just depends on the person that they're interviewing of how they do it. So, Dave, what I did is I took what you sent me and I broke the steps down. And then I took Chris's first confession and I just put the parts of that his confession in with the steps that I believe is how they were doing it and how he reacted. It's very interesting, and like I say, you will learn something. I know I did.
Yeah, just by looking or watching you where you put it together for the Reid technique, and then the way that they actually used it on to Chris, you see it matches up perfectly. So
Yes, it's very thought-provoking.
one of the biggest things is when you do the Reid technique, you're supposed to set up the room ahead of time and take like all your pictures off the walls. And for one thing, they're supposed to be facing you. And the weird thing about Chris's interrogation is that they have a clock on the wall and he's actually facing the clock. Well, that's a
Yes.
distraction, and they're not supposed to have that either on the wall or him facing away from it. And with them
No.
having an actual camera in the room, Chris was actually should be facing that camera so anybody else that's watching could actually watch his body movements, because that's another thing about the Reid technique is all your emotions. It doesn't matter if say Chris is looking down at his knees or if he's looking straight at you. They have to read your body in order to see what you're actually going through and if you're lying. So
Right. Right. Ageless Beauty says, I believe he took a plea deal because he did not want the death penalty. That is true. I
yeah,
believe that as well. I believe that 100%. 100%. Hello, Dave. Great to see you tonight, too. Great to see all of you in here. I'm sorry I'm not into the chat. I have so many tabs open and getting things together to show you guys that we put together. So yeah, let me pull this up, and as always, I do believe that you will learn something. Dave, let me know if the sound's coming through okay, please. Let me know if you can hear it, okay?
The Reid technique has been widely used since the 1950s. This method is based on psychological manipulation and evaluation, with the aim of getting confessions from suspects who may not otherwise have been willing to confess. An interrogation conducted using the Reid technique will not always follow the same pattern, but there are 9 key steps that should be followed. The first step is direct confrontation. This involves the investigator presenting facts of the case, whether real or not, in order to raise the suspect's stress levels, while also moving closer to the suspect to increase their levels of discomfort.
So, going into that interview today with Tammy, where we strapped you in, we knew all about Nikki. Okay? All about her. We knew about Nikki, so can I tell you maybe...
So see, here is what he's doing. He is letting Chris know up front. We already know. And he's telling him we know about Nikki. We've got all the tags, so it's really not going to do you any good to lie to us. So that's where he's going with this step, I believe.
Based on the people that I've talked to, and Tammy's talked to, based on all the investigations you've done, based on your cell phone, both your cell phones, your wife's cell phone, Nikki's cell phone, okay? Based on talking with family members and friends, and based on talking with everyone. Here's what we know. You know that we have texts, and we know that there's an Alexa in your house, and you know that those are trained to record distress. Okay? You know that we know the content of Nikki's text messages and your text messages and Shanann's text messages. Okay? I didn't know you knew where Nikki was until right now. So. Okay.
The next step is done in a non-threatening manner. Theme development is where the investigator will offer an explanation as to why the suspect committed the crime by making some sort of moral excuse or justification that the suspect is responsive.
Shannann's the reason that happened. I believe that she's a controlling person. Maybe doesn't listen to you as much as she should. I think that she can do whatever she wants and you can't. Okay? I think if you were to go to a restaurant, she would order whatever the hell she wants. And as soon as you order a nice steak, you say, whoa, buddy, we're on the path to leave the marriage. Okay? It's ironic that we're talking about you and Nikki. I think that she was the one who started on the path first. And though she is that type of person that's controlling, doesn't listen, does what she wants, is walking away from her kids, here you are defending her. Because to your core, you want to take care of the people you love. Okay.
Chris, did Shanann do something to them?
No, I don't know.
I'm serious.
I have no clue.
So you would have known because you didn't leave the house. Did Shanann do something to them, and then did you feel like you had to do something to Shanann?
They were at the house when I left. They were there.
They weren't there. They didn't leave. They vanished.
Stopping denials is a key step in the interrogation process. This is because allowing the suspect to verbally deny their guilt will only help to increase their confidence and resilience to questioning. Interrupting all attempts at denial helps to keep the suspect's confidence low and generate feelings of powerlessness.
How much I can tell you right now, like, I did not.
It's not even an option right now because you now pass the polygraph, so I know you were being deceptive, so that's not even an issue right now. The issue.
Chris, I'm gonna stop. It's time. I'll stop for a minute. Take a deep breath.
Well, I know you want to tell us. I can see it in your face. Holding this lie in is going to do nothing for you.
I know. I'm not like trying to like cover things up, like.
Yeah, but you kind of are, because it's normal. Normal people would do that. Normal people that make a mistake, and usually are gonna go, I don't know what you're talking about, I didn't do anything. That's normal. This is where the rubber meets the road, Chris. Like, don't let this continue any longer, please.
I'm not trying to make anything continue. Like, I want them back home, like.
But you know they're not coming back home. You know that.
I don't know them back in my head. I hope they come back home.
But you know they're not.
I hope they come back home.
Yes. An objection is different to a denial in that it can give the investigator information that can be used against the suspect, and if handled correctly, the investigator can make the objection look more like an admission of guilt. For example, a suspect may make an objection such as, "My sister was sexually abused as a child, and I saw how much it hurt her. I could never rape someone. I would never do that." An investigator using the Reid technique may respond by saying, "That's good. You're saying that you wouldn't ever plan to do that. It was out of your control. I know you care about women like your sister. It was just a mistake."
Okay, that's what happened. I didn't do anything to her or anything.
Was it an accident?
I didn't do anything.
Was it an accident?
There was no accident. I don't know if there was an accident in the house. I wasn't there for it. It's a big deal if it's an accident, because we can work with that, Chris. No, there's no maybe what happened. There's no, I did not cause an accident. I didn't do anything to my wife and kids. Was it a misunderstanding? There's no misunderstanding. Like, we had a talk. There was no misunderstanding where I didn't tell her about the affair. Okay, I didn't. That was a misunderstanding. Miscommunication, misunderstanding. Yeah, good.
By this point in the interrogation, the suspect should be feeling frustrated and unsure of themselves. Investigators will capitalize on this by appearing to be the suspect's ally and friend. This is achieved by using first names, getting physically closer, and offering gestures of concern, like patting the suspect on the back or touching their shoulder, which makes it more difficult for them to detach from the situation.
Reid.
Okay. You okay? Mhm.
The suspect will most likely be feeling a sense of defeat due to their inability to successfully deflect and deny the investigator's accusations. Their body language will often reveal this: hunched shoulders, head in their hands, and elbows on their knees. If the suspect becomes emotional or cries at this point, it is important for them to feel supported and comforted by the investigator, as this is often a sign of remorse or guilt. Saying something like, "I know how much you've tried to keep this inside, but I'm glad to see those tears because they tell me you're sorry this thing ever happened. You are sorry you did this, aren't you?"
You said me, you know, I think I'm a good man. They're going to see this, you know, like, what the fuck did you do, Chris? Like, what? Like, why did you go cops to begin with?
Well, they weren't in your shoes. They don't know. They weren't living your life.
No, but still, it's like,
People are going to
you never, like, we'll just go one step at a time. And then that.
The alternative question is probably the most important stage. The investigator will present the suspect with two potential but equally incriminating motives for them committing the crime. One will be more socially acceptable, such as, "It was a crime of passion, wasn't it?" Whereas the other will be much more undesirable and widely viewed as inexcusable, such as, "You killed them for the money, right?"
Everything the circuits I told you about.
You think she had trouble breathing that night? And she didn't freak out? And didn't want to live without her baby girl? Did you hear about the homicide that happened in Aurora? The guy beat that family to death with a ball-peen hammer. The only person that survived was a 3-year-old sibling. And that sibling grew up to be a total mess. No family, no mom and dad, no brother, sister, just her by herself. She says, I wish I could have died with them. And there are times that people freak out. I've seen it. I mean, I've been in mom for almost 20 years. I've seen it. Parents freak out and they're like, oh my God, like, I can't have my baby girls live without each other. They're best friends. They're like twins. They're, you know, they wake each other up in the morning. And I understand that. We had a mom in Castle Rock that suffocated both her baby girls. She's like, my husband was going to take them. And she's like, I just couldn't.
Notice how she uses a case where one of the kids were suffocated. You see what I'm saying? But there's more. I mean, that's just one of them. But yeah.
And I thought I was doing right by them. I thought I was saving them pain. And I get it.
Why? Why she saving them pain?
She didn't want them to have to live without their mom.
The phrasing of the alternative question is important and ideally would require the suspect to merely nod their head or say yes, as this makes it easier for them to admit their guilt. The investigator must develop any admissions of guilt that followed from the previous stage into a legally binding confession. This is done by using open-ended questions and avoiding any realistic or highly emotional terminology. Often, other investigators will be brought into the interrogation room to witness the confession with the aim of increasing the suspect's stress levels and willingness to confess.
I'm just going to pack this up, and then the FBI guy, Graham, that you've been talking to, he's going to come in over and chat, okay? Is that cool? Good. You need anything? Crackers, water, Mountain Dew? I totally will give you Mountain Dew.
I'm good.
I mean, if you're not being truthful about who took their lives, like, that's on them, too. And you don't want to do that to them.
I'm not doing that to them.
Did you hear that? Let me back it up. Listen close. This is about if you're not the one that took their lives, you don't really want to throw them under the bus, do you? And he says no. And then he almost gets really defensive and he says, I'm not doing that to them.
Too. And you don't want to do that to them.
I'm not doing that to them.
I'm just saying. I mean,
No, I'm not doing that to them.
can you work it for me?
Once satisfied that they have obtained a sufficient confession, the investigator will have the suspect write it out so it can be used later as evidence. At this point, the suspect is often willing to do anything to escape the interrogation. Now that all of the stages have been explained, it is much easier to identify them being used. Regardless of what technique investigators use to interrogate a suspect, getting a confession is a highly complicated process that requires not only creativity and confidence, but also psychological expertise. No two interrogations are alike, and a confession is not always guaranteed. For example, in the US, it is estimated that between 42 and 55% of suspects will confess during an interrogation. The fact that the most hardened criminals, as well as those who are innocent, can end up confessing demonstrates the knowledge and manipulation tactics that interrogators possess. Whether or not these tactics are worth using, despite the possibility of false confessions, continues to be widely debated.
So, I hope that took forever to do, y'all. Believe it or not, it took literally forever to get all those clips together and match them with the steps. Although I know there's a lot in his confession that can match with those steps, but yeah, that literally took forever. But did you catch that one part? It was so, I don't know. Did you catch that, Dave, where she's like, you know, if you're not responsible for the girls' deaths, you know, and someone else, do you want to throw them under the bus? And he says, no, I'm not going to do that to them. And then it's like, he's like, no, I'm not going to do that to them. And she's just staring at him. It's surreal, you know?
Yeah, you actually did a really good job putting that together. I'm really impressed. And that would have taken a long time to do.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I know you haven't even, you haven't looked at it since you just saw, you know, you sent me the whole steps thing, but I thought it would be great to put the actual steps of his confession into the steps to kind of show that there is zero doubt that, you know, it definitely was the Reid they were using on him. It was no, wow, they were good to think of using this or think of saying that. No, it was completely, it's learned behavior from the detectives, and they were definitely going to do the Reid. There was no, I don't know. They were amazing how they got him to do it. No, it was a technique.
Well, one thing with this too, we're not saying Chris is innocent by all means. It
Oh
just
no,
that
I haven't been looking at the chat. I'm sure
we're
that.
just trying to say that
Mm.
the Reid technique was actually used on this.
Yes,
And
yes.
it is an interrogation. It's not an interview whatsoever. And the
No.
whole thing is to manipulate you or the person that they're going after into confessing to something that they might not even have done. And there's
Yeah,
so
exactly.
many cases that where people that have been found guilty of murder that confess just under pressure. Because some of these here, they'll last anywhere 5-8 hours or more.
Absolutely.
And then they don't come up and say they did it. They'll bring them back another time and they just beat them down like inch by inch by inch until they confess to doing something, just so that, you know, they convince them that they actually did something they didn't do.
Exactly. Well, look at the Brendan Dassey case. That is a case most everyone is familiar with. They used it on him, and look, you know, and I don't think there's many people out there. I'm sure there is some, but I don't think there's that many out there that truly believe that Brendan Dassey is guilty. But the Reid technique, he's been in there now, what, 20? Well, he's been in there over half his life. So, yeah, but no, we're definitely not sitting here saying that Chris is completely innocent. He hasn't done anything. No, that's not the point of this live whatsoever. Not the point of any live, actually, that I do. I'm just pointing out things, actually hoping it's a learning experience for people. And I hope in each one of these that you all take away something. And it's hard to take away anything from this case that you're not already aware of. But let me just put it this way. Hopefully it'll get your wheels turning. Maybe you'll learn something from it, even if it isn't about this case, you know, later on down the line or another case you've been studying, more the legality ends of it and how things were done. However, in Chris Watts' case, I fully believe, totally believe that they were completely aware of what he did, what was done, where they were, and everything before he ever even got to the police station on August the 15th. Totally believe that.
Well, even with that too, with the way that we're going at him, I still believe that Chris thought everybody was coming home. Because the way they were going at it, they kept on saying, no, they're not, as if they knew, and they already got the news of where everybody was already, as to Chris never. Because I believe that Chris always thought the girls, at least, were coming home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as we shown the drone footage earlier, the drone footage was done before he was actually even hooked up to the polygraph test.
That's
Okay.
right.
And again, people is going to have the argument effect. And, you know, I agree. I mean, that whatever, that the GPS is what brought them to 319. I don't believe that, because if it was, they would have already checked Survey 319 when they were doing extensive searches for these children and Shanann. They would have already been there. They would have been there actually from the 13th, just to be honest, because Chris told them exactly where he went.
That's right. Yep. Well, even
So
when they were out there, it makes absolutely no sense, because here these clowns, I'm sorry, law enforcement were out in the field because they saw the sheet like from the drone. So they thought, just the way that the sheet was setting, that that might be the grave or there's something underneath the sheet. So these guys went out and they picked up the sheet and then moved it instead of putting it back in the same spot it was. Like, if they were going to
Yes.
move anything, they should have cataloged that, took pictures before they moved it, instead of us just getting drone footage of where it was and then where they moved it to. It just makes
Exactly.
absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Right.
It was like, okay, the sheet's there, it's supposed to be there, and then it nothing else matters after that. Well, everything matters, because that's not where Shanann was. That's where she was found. So
okay, and that brings us to this. Okay, and we'll go back to the confession in just a moment, but let's go to this part real quick. Okay, bombshell information. Not only on NBC was they reporting that Rourke said there was some bombshell information, right? No, it wasn't just there. I mean, there were many places that were reporting this bombshell information. Rourke even said that there is no way they could have cracked this case as quick as they did without her bombshell information. No way. That is his words. Okay, now you tell me this. What in the hell was the bombshell information? Was it his macros? Was it the weight he lost? Was it the condoms? Let's see, what else did she tell us? The dates they went on? Does all that sound like bombshell helping to crack the case? I mean, if anybody can think of anything that she said that was a bombshell that helped crack that case so quickly, please enlighten me in the comments over there, because I've been trying like hell to figure it out. And I think I did. But if there's anything in the discovery or her interviews that you guys heard, please enlighten me. Yeah. There wasn't anything, right? There wasn't. But that brings us to something else here I want to show you. Okay, let's go right here for just a second. It should be noted that approximately 3 hours before the polygraph was scheduled to begin, which was 8 a.m., remember the polygraph was scheduled for 11. At 8 a.m., they received a phone call from Anadarko, and I know all of you already know this. Tony Husky advised Chris's computer, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it's talking about the emails, right? So at 8 a.m., right here is when it said they found out about Nicole, right? 8 a.m. Let me pull this phone down for whatever reason it doesn't want to.
yeah, 8 a.m. when Nicole was supposed to be at work, but that wasn't at work because somebody from Anadarko had notified her that they were there getting the emails.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay, now let's look at this. Okay, this is Nicole's phone logs. I'm sure you've all saw this. Let's look at the 15th. Can you see that okay, Dave? Or do I need to? Because I'm on another screen.
Even with one eye open, I can't see it.
Can't?
Not on my phone. Maybe you can on a computer, but not on my phone. No, sorry.
Let's do this. Now can you see it?
Oh, that's better. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's look at the 15th. Okay. We're starting at 5:51 a.m. Thornton. 6:10 Thornton. Okay, but let's go after 8 a.m. Let's start there, okay? Because that's when Anadarko sent them. So let's start after 8 a.m. Okay, August the 15th, 9:49 a.m. Now look at this number, 720-382-5700. Try to memorize it. So we have that number at 9:49, 9:52, and again at 11:38. 11:38. Okay, all three right in a row, same place. All right. Now, so did you put that number down? Because there's where that number goes to. Okay, 382-5700. So 3 times right in a row, okay, she calls Frederick Police Department all the way up until 11:38, which was her last call with them. Shortly thereafter, we're seeing drones. We're seeing drones fly over Serbia. We're seeing what they were going to use is the Reid technique, right? But there's even more than that to it. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so here we are back before he takes the polygraph, okay? Listen closely. Look at the time here. Okay, that's why I have an arrow there. He has not confessed yet. He has not even taken the polygraph. However, Nicole's already talked with him. We know at least 3 times on the phone. I personally believe, as well as Dave, that not only did she talk with them on the phone 3 times that morning, I believe, and Dave believes, theoretically, okay, this is not something that we have saw. We cannot confirm this, but we believe that she met with the FBI off record, okay, before 5:30 that evening on record. We believe she gave them information. Now we're going to get to our theory in just a moment. Our theory is I'm going to just put it out there. But yeah, listen to this.
I said,
How does someone just someone else's disappearance?
Can you hear that okay?
It was
Dave?
pretty choppy, yes.
Okay. All right.
I mean, you would Like I said,
You can cause someone's disappearance by murdering them. Do you agree with that?
yes.
So what different physical ways could you cause someone's disappearance through murder? You could stab someone,
Stab
right?
someone, shoot someone, hit them with a blunt object. What else is there? I mean, use a weapon like gun or a knife. I mean,
Okay.
you could.
You could smother someone.
Smother someone.
Did you get that? He was sitting there trying to think of something else to say, and coincidentally, she's like, you could smother someone. She goes on to say strangle someone. So is that a coincidence or just a damn good guess there, Tammy? Just curious.
You could strangle someone.
Hang someone. Yeah, you can. All that kind of things. I mean, it's hard to even think about that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So you could strangle someone. You could drown someone.
Yeah.
You could shock someone to death. You could burn someone alive. What other ways can you think of?
As far as like lure them into a trap, I guess.
So what do you mean? What?
Like, like have somebody waiting like around the corner and like, an accident that happens, hit by a car, something like that.
Sure.
Like I don't want to say the same thing there, but
you could kidnap them and take them and lock them up in a basement somewhere, or you know what I mean. They could still be alive, but you're
like torturing. So you can take them somewhere, torture them, and let them sit there without food or water.
Mm-hmm. Or even kidnap them and leave them somewhere that they are, not being tortured.
Yeah.
Just that they can't get out, and obviously they're just.
See, she's like, and they can't get out. It's like she's dropping the hints, in my opinion.
Disappeared because you've not allowed them to come back into society and have people see them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. What other ways could you make someone disappear?
Poison.
Okay. Yep.
Sorry, this is.
I know.
Like, not to say how you said that.
Which one?
Beat somebody, I guess, to the point where they're unconscious and they're in a coma.
Sure. So if I ask you that question on the test, Chris, are you going to have any issue with that? About you physically causing someone? Yeah, like that would be a way you could cause someone's disappearance.
Okay. I can definitely, I can pass. I mean,
you could murder them, you could kidnap them, you could take them to another country, you could, bury them in your backyard. You could do a million things.
Bury them in your backyard. I mean, so yeah, she throws out some hardcore hints of exactly the situation, right?
See, one thing too about his polygraph, a lot of people, I don't think they realize that Chris actually passed the first one. And then
yeah, they gave him two.
Yeah, she told him that he's not breathing properly, so they have to do it again. And then he actually only failed one answer. And the one that he failed was, do you know where Shanann is? Well, that could be, he could have thought that she was in a warehouse, could have been anywhere other than the grave. And he
it's
still
funny that
failed
she
that
keeps
question.
saying, it's odd that she keeps saying kidnapping. Like
That's
she
right.
threw that out there many times. And then when you put that coinciding with what they said later, when she was like, well, you wouldn't want to do that to them. And it's them. It's not her. She doesn't say her. She says, you don't want to do that to them. And Chris is like, I'm not doing that to them.
That's right.
I'm just,
Yeah.
that is so, you know, I don't know. It's little things like that that really, here's another thing she says, okay? Before the polygraph again, and you can see the clock there. I don't have the arrow on it, but it's roughly what, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour later after she says the whole smothering situation. This is another one that really got to me.
So the first relevant question that I'm going to ask that we had already gone over is going to be, did you specifically cause Shanann's disappearance?
No.
Are you lying about the last time you saw Shanann?
No.
And I'm saying her name right?
Yep.
Right, okay. And then do you know where Shanann is now?
No.
Okay, so those are the three that we'd already discussed before, right? So physically causing someone's disappearance is either, you know, obviously harming them to the point where they, you know, are either dead or can no longer function out, you know, maybe you left them for dead, you know, in some field somewhere or something like that.
So did you get that? So you didn't do nothing, just leave them in a field somewhere? I mean, come on, there's too many things that she said. That was what happened, literally before he took the polygraph. And Michigan's like, I didn't realize he had already done one polygraph. Yes, I should have brought that up there, Dave, but I didn't. But yes, he had answered. Did he answer all the questions, Dave? And then she's like,
Yeah.
it's not registering. We're going to have to redo this. Was it something about your breathing? Is what it was.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
see, they were done one after the other. It wasn't that there was two different polygraph appointments. It was just that she did the test run, then she did the actual run of the polygraph, and then she did it again because he had passed it. So they can't have that. They had to get him on something. So, but that's
Yeah.
the whole thing is by him saying, like, getting it wrong, do you know where Shanann is? That she could have been anywhere he thought she was. It didn't mean that she was in a grave.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, Chris at that point had to be sitting there thinking, damn, they already know.
Right.
I mean, he had to. He had to.
Yeah.
Because of the smothering, the field, the kidnapping, they can't get out. I mean, she literally threw out exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And that brings us to my theory, which is a bit different than Dave's. We both have theories. We all do, right? So, Dave, do you want to tell yours first or do you
No, I'm
want
good.
me? Okay. All right, I'm good.
I don't want
Because,
to
you
get
know,
tarred and feathered. So
no, I mean, I'll tell you mine. I fully believe that on the 14th, when the cops were all around her home and all of that, she freaked out. She told Chris, look, this is going to ruin my life, right? This is going to ruin my life. You're going to have to go in there and you're going to have to just tell them. And you're going to have to just tell them something. I don't care, but I want out of this shit. Okay? Here's what I think happened on the 13th. Damn, I've never put this all the way out there, but I'm going to. Theoretically, let me do something else here because people will beat your head in for theories that does not go with theirs, but it is.
yeah,
what
it's
it
your
is.
opinion, just like everybody else has their opinion on what could have happened.
Right. It is what it is.
And we have to have an opinion because they're not telling us the truth.
Right. And I've tried to show you here why I have came to the theory that I have. I believe that on the 13th, when Shanann came home, I believe that they did have one hell of an argument over the dinner cost. Okay. I don't believe there was any sex or any of that kind of thing. I just don't believe that happened. I don't know about the girls, okay? But I'm just gonna go in. I'm just using Shanann and Chris at this point because right now with the girls, I don't know. But I believe that Chris did choke Shanann out for whatever reasons. Whether she was just screaming at him, telling him he's not going to see the kids anymore, he did. And when he did that, he called Nicole. He said, he told her, now this is what I think he told Nicole. He either called her, used a burner phone, because a lot of people think she had a burner phone. I don't know. Maybe he was already on the damn phone with her. Maybe he texted her through their secret calculator app. That's why we don't see this. I don't know. But somehow he let Nicole know, look, and I think he did tell Nicole exactly what he said in his first confession. I think that's what he told her. And I think when she got there, he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I think Nicole helped him. Went up to that house, because you got to think, anywhere from 2 a.m. until 5:40, or let's just say 5:30. No, because I think was it 5:16 when he went and cranked his truck, or 5:30? I don't know. But anyway, he had at least 2.5 hours to do whatever. So Nicole could have got there shortly thereafter. I think she helped him clean up mess, and I think Nicole helped him dispose of the kids. And I think she was freaking out, and she called them, and they gave her full immunity because, and I'm not saying it's because she's a diplomat, whatever. I think there's where the bombshell evidence comes in. I think she told the FBI, this is what happened. Chris called me over there, and yes, I helped him dispose of the kids. Okay, that is 12 years. That is a Class C felony. Whether she murdered them or not, it's still a Class C felony, abuse of a corpse. And I'm not even sure what the charge is in Colorado, but here in Alabama, it's called abuse of a corpse. 12-year sentence, Class C felony. That would have been at least 2 on her hands. And I believe they gave her immunity for her to tell them what happened and where they were. That is why in her interviews she said, we're a team. I'm trying to help you. I believe that all of her interviews and things like that were on the record. They were specifically for being on the record, because her name had already been brought out, not only in media, but social media. It was already there that he had the mistress. So they were going to have to put something in the damn discovery and the public eye about her. But I believe her bombshell came from her off the record information, because it's damn sure not anywhere in her on the record information and interviews. That is what I believe. I believe she helped him dispose of the bodies, and she got full blanket immunity for her information. Now, if you can think of any other bombshell information that helped crack that case wide open as fast as it did, and how ironically and coincidentally that drones were there. It seemed like Tammy already knew exactly what happened when he went into the polygraph. If you can tell me of something else, please enlighten me. That is my theory, and I'm sticking to it. That's the way I feel. Yes, that puts her involved, heavily involved. What do you think, Dave?
Well, I still have a problem with Shanann's rigor, because she was still in rigor Friday, and like rigor usually releases from the body between 36 and 42 hours after death. And if she had died on Monday, like they want us to believe, well, she would have been out of rigor. And that leads me to her passing on either Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, when Chris was being watched. Okay. But as to like everything else, I really do not see anything saying that the girls even came home from that birthday party. And if you look at everything else, the way that it was going, it's like Shanann finds she came home, she went upstairs, and there's no kids there, and because it shows her going up a flight, or what is it, 2 flights of stairs. I think she went upstairs. The kids were not there in their beds, so she went downstairs to see if they were with Chris. That's where the 2nd flight of stairs was. And at that point, that's when I think that's when they got a hold of her. Because what bothers me is that confidential report that I had found where the 3rd canine search, that they're not showing us the results, but they had tracked Shanann's scent from the back of the house to some 4 blocks away. And with that too, it's like there was an oil battery in their backyard, more or less. And the dog, it tracked the scent and then lost interest around the tanks. So that tells me that she didn't pass on that day, that she had passed later. And then if you go to like Cece's autopsy, her lung is consistent to a chloroform or overdose. And then if you go to Bella's autopsy, she actually had chemical burns around the top of her mouth, which you can get from chloroform again if it's applied by either a cloth or like whole, like the liquid itself. But if it's used in a nebulizer, that like the girls had, and there was a nebulizer inside the laundry room during the initial wellness check, but on the canine search, it was missing. It was gone. It's out of there. So that there throws me again, you know? So it's like, it's almost like, well, Chris says I had to kill them twice. Well, if Cece passed away by an accidental overdose, if they just wanted to put them to sleep to get them out of the house so they wouldn't make any noise or anything, you know, that'd be one way of doing it. But by her accidentally passing, what did they do with Bella? You know, but with Bella, she was excited. She wanted to see her mom, and she was having problems sleeping, so she would have woke up. That's where he goes, I had to kill them twice. Even though I don't think he killed anyone, honestly. I think somebody else had their hands into it, not Chris, because there wasn't a mark on him. They had like a bug bite on his neck that everybody said was a scratch, but it did look like a bug bite, nothing else. Everybody thought Nicole was there and she was all scratched up. That's why she's wearing that the Huggy. But on the actual one with her dad in the interview room, she had her arms showing. They're like the sleeves were up. So that just throws me off all to heck, you know. But no, I honestly, I do think they had them somewhere, because that day on Tuesday when Chris was loading up the car, if they would have let him go to wherever he wanted to go, they probably would have found where the girls were. But instead they called him back to the police station for his interrogation. So I don't know.
So you're saying you don't think the girls came home from the birthday party?
I don't think so. No, Chris was late getting to the birthday party to start off with. And
see,
why would he be late?
Her dad talked to them that night on FaceTime.
Yeah,
after
but
the birthday party.
If you listen to the actual interview at the start, he goes, I may have FaceTime.
Yeah, he does say that. He said, I'm very sure it was Sunday. Yeah, he does say that.
Yeah, and then later on into the interview, it's almost like somebody told him, well, I actually talked to Bella and she was eating cold pizza and I could hear Cece in the background.
Right.
So why would he go, I may have talked to them? Like, if I would have talked to my grandkids, I would have said, yeah, I talked to them. They were there. Not, I may have, especially because to him, at one time, he said, yeah, he talked to them every day. But then again, he changed it and says, yeah, I talked to him as much as I could. You know, so no matter which way you go, it's like either it's this way or that way. It can't be two different ways. The same way as they said that Chris had killed Shanann 2 different ways. Well, she could only die one way, and that's it. So how could she die of strangulation and termination of the pregnancy that caused her death? Like,
That's awkward. I agree. That part of the discovery has really brought me back to it several times, where it literally says in the autopsy 2 different reasons for death. It says asphyxiation due to manual strangulation on Shanann, and then also it says that she died as a result of the termination of pregnancy.
right.
So
And
both are in the discovery on her cause of death, and it's
yeah,
just, I find that odd as well. I do.
and he received life sentences for both of them too. So, and if you go to Cece's autopsy, it only says she may have. They didn't actually come up with a conclusion of how she died.
No, they didn't.
No.
That is very true. Now, as far as the chloroform, yeah, no, I never put a lot of thought into the chloroform. I mean, I know he could have made it and all that. However, your theory also could very well coincide with a theory that I had earlier on, but it's not chloroform. It was the sort of fuel he used in his truck.
Right.
Do you remember the video I made?
Yeah.
Early on about the gas can and why Chris was so damn interested in that gas can. And then I went into him being a NASCAR driver, and he knew all about that fuel, and he had been schooled on that fuel, and just the mere vapors of that fuel would put somebody out, and it had
Right.
to be put into a refrigerator, and it had to be at a certain temperature. And I really went in deep diving in
Yeah.
that video about that fuel. So to coincide with the chloroform, instead of me, when I had that theory, believing that it was chloroform, I believe that he possibly had that type of fuel in that, and that he was letting the vapors kind of keep the girls kind of out of it, you
Right.
know.
See, with the
But if they,
chloroform too, they use that for years in hospitals for anesthetic to put you under.
yes,
But they
but what
stopped
would he have
using it because
gotten
it's not
chloroform?
stable. You can either die or you could have brain damage or you could wake up during the surgery. And
Right.
with chloroform too, it does have to be stored at a certain temperature also. So
Right.
the whole thing with that is if you go for the NASCAR fuel, then that could actually affect him too if it's not contained in a way. Like that's why I figured they used the nebulizer to put the girls to sleep, because they just put the mask on and it was routine for them to do it.
Yeah, and even at that time, I was thinking maybe that the fuel could have been put in the nebulizer or something like that.
Right.
Martina, yes, honey, and that is very true. But I personally believe that the interviews that we saw and heard from the park interview, I believe those were on the record. I believe that the bombshell evidence came from an off the record interview that she did before.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
even took
because
a
if you
bullet.
go 8 o'clock, they went and got her emails, and that's when one of her friends from Anadarko told Nicole that they were there. So she
Right.
was not at work. They had to call her and tell her that they did that.
Right.
So then she called her dad, then the lawyer, and then they tell us that then she called Well County. But both of us really do feel that she actually called FBI right after she talked to the lawyer.
Yes. Yes, Mary, I have a video. God, that video is old though. It's over a year old, I believe, but it's called "What's Up with Chris and the Gas Can," and I went into detail about that fuel, showing things about it, how it had to be kept refrigerated, and I was just trying to tie everything together because at that time people were talking about the chloroform, and I was like, and I still wonder this, Dave, where would he have gotten chloroform?
Well, you can actually make it.
Yeah, I know
You get
that, but
recipes off the internet, but then again, if you go back to the sand dunes, Nicole left for an hour and a half. Chris had woke up, and she was nowhere to be found. And if you remember too, that they had to go and buy extra ice. Well, you need ice to keep it at a certain temperature, otherwise it evaporates too. So that was another thing that I was wondering is, did she get the chloroform? because, well, you know, Jim actually was there at the dunes too, but another thing, who else was there that they're not talking about or showing pictures of? We'll never know.
Mm-mm. No, definitely not. And
that's right
so,
too. If you see Dave's got in chat right there, then she called Kovac 6 times.
yeah, we just showed those phone records, and you know, to me, it was just awfully ironic that the night before they were just kind of, what in the hell's going on? Where is these kids at? And for whatever reasons, in my opinion, it seemed like that they damn well had Nicole on their radar. They were stalked around her house. I read that in the discovery. I believe someone said it may not be in the discovery anymore, but it damn sure was when I read it. And they were stalked around her house, and then that was supposedly the last night, or it was the last night she talked to Chris.
That's
Was
right.
on the 14th. She was freaking out because the cops was all around her house. And then the next morning, when she finds out early on that Anadarko had already let them know, oh yeah, they're in an affair, she's tripping out. She calls them, and just as I say, Tammy was it was too much, in my opinion. There was just too much there. You could smother them. You know, when Chris was really trying to think of some way, she's like, you could smother them, you could strangle them, you know. And then she's like, well, you didn't just leave them out in the field. And what else was it? Oh yeah, them. You wouldn't want to throw them under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do that to them. Them. That word. There's so many plurals in this, and people seem to want to just brush it under the rug. Like, we had a rake, we had a shovel, we had this, we had that. I mean, let's just brush it under the rug, okay? But you can't brush every damn thing under the rug when it's all coinciding with exactly what went on, okay?
Right. See, I
I
don't
mean,
think Chris found out that the girls had passed until that day, or that night, I should say, when the police were trying to get a hold of Chris and kept on getting disconnected, supposedly. But on that night, Chris was on the phone with NK, and
mhm.
he ended up leaving his phone on speakerphone and then calling the police back on his work phone. And
Yes.
if you listen to his voice, I honestly think the way that Chris was talking and all, like everything, is that he had been crying and that he had just found out that that's when the girls had passed. That's what I think, anyway, because just his voice, it wasn't the same voice that Chris had in his interview, say on the porch. You know, he was joking around because at that time, he thought they were coming home. And it's like
Mhm.
they did do this ploy for a mock kidnapping where they were going to get rid of Shanann no matter what and just have the girls. Well, if you look at the insurance money, yeah, there's a lot of insurance money out there on Shanann, because there was 250,000 just from Anadarko. Then there was another, what was it, 200 or 250,000 through King, and another 500,000 through King on their like on her old marriage. So where did
Yeah,
that
and
money go? Because
when they talked to her husband about that, he's like, I'm not sure if she kept it up, but you know, but then later on you will hear Chris say, yeah, she had this other one, because they ask him about, you know, the insurance, and he
yeah,
says, yeah, I've got it through my work. And he also says, and she's also got it through her ex-husband. She bought it from
right,
her ex-husband's wife.
yeah.
So there was actually, yeah, more than one. And at that point, I can't remember. Dave, do you remember if that was on the 14th interview or the 15th when they were asking him about the financial? I think it was the 14th.
I think it was the 14th too. Yeah,
Yeah, because I believe that is before they actually did know what happened to
right.
him. But I'm fully convinced that they knew exactly what happened to Shanann and the kids, and exactly where they were after she called them that morning at 9:40, whatever the hell it was,
Definitely,
right
yes,
before 10, yeah.
yeah,
Because right after that, that's when shit started moving, and these drones were out there, and Tammy was, like, smothering, strangling in a field, you know,
yeah. And
you
why
don't
stop
want to
the
throw
search
them under the
warrants too?
bus.
because Dave had them search warrants all drawn up, ready to be signed, and they got tossed in the garbage.
Right.
And it's like them search warrants would have got her cell phone, her laptop, her Forerunner, and her apartment. But all of a sudden, it doesn't mean anything now that CBI and FBI is involved. Why is that? And like
Yeah.
with Chris living there for 6 weeks, they should have had that apartment torn upside down.
Well, notice how FBI, except for Coder,
Right.
notice how FBI backed out of it after that.
Yeah.
Then it just went straight to CBI for on the record.
Yeah. The circus started.
Yeah. Coder was FBI, of course, but you didn't hear anything from Coder after the 15th. It was all FBI, FBI or CBI.
Yeah. And then another thing too is the camera didn't work. No matter where they went, the camera didn't work. Any place that would have implicated anybody else, the camera didn't work.
Right. Why was she not asked about the 616 ping? Maybe she was.
Yeah.
But why ask her? Why even ask her when they already had her story before even the polygraph? Well, why would they even ask her about the 616 ping? Because how they knew she was there. She had already told them.
That, and with if you want to go to Dwayne and NK's interview, where Dwayne, I think, accidentally come out and said, yeah, and the 9 o'clock, don't forget about the 9 o'clock. Well, yeah, there was a 9 o'clock alert that shows up at 9:10. How in the heck would he know about that? And then NK shut him down, says, well, we'll get to that, but it never ever did come back. And then you got them clowns in there not even asking him, what are you talking about 9 o'clock? And if you look now, I can't find it inside the discovery. That's been redacted. So that's something nobody else is supposed to know either.
I think it was in the one I read. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah.
So it's definitely out there. I know Weld sent me another link that I did not ask for.
Oh, really?
And I thought that was so odd. They sent me another link and they said, I've still got the email. It
I
was
don't think I'd open it up.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, it was redacted from here to hell. It was not the one I was using.
Right.
So
maybe it has more panty letters in there or something that doesn't have anything to do with the discovery to start off with. And what it is this fill for all the stuff that they took out.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, let's ask the chat, Dave. Did any of you learn anything? Because that's important to me and Dave. We work really hard.
Confused.
we work really hard all week to try to bring something, even if it's something tiny, new to a thought process for you guys. We really do.
Like the discovery itself, it's more or less a guideline. It's nothing that they can actually use concrete in court. But the way that this discovery is, they have stuff stuck all over the place. There's timelines thrown here, there, and all over the place. Nothing is in order. And it's more of a confusion than anything. And if you look at other discovery, everything is just point blank here, there, like all in order. This one here is just a bunch of garbage. So,
yeah. Let's see, the text he sent, they would freak out. What was that about? NK said it was about Lucky Charms. Okay, here's the way I look at that text. If it was about Lucky Charms, then why in the hell would she delete what she said? It looks like she would have been proud to show she didn't know what in the hell was going on, and she was just wanting to show him something about some cereal. So why would she delete what she said? Just think about that it would make her look good if she's like, hey, look at these cereal, but hers is deleted for whatever reasons. So that's the way I look at that. Dave says he learned how the Reid technique worked. Dave, let me ask you this. Yeah, I know you have went over that discovery relentlessly, and so have I, as well as the interviews. Did you ever pick up that part that we played about if you're not the one that hurt your girls, you wouldn't want to throw them under the bus, would you? No, I wouldn't do that to them. I'm not doing that to them. Did you pick that up? Have you ever picked that up before? Because it is a really quick go through, and I did have to try to take background noise. And if you'll notice when you're watching this, have you noticed that Tammy's face, it's like there's a little, like a pixelated around her mouth. Have you noticed that? It's not, it's a little blurred just around her mouth. It almost looks like a complete circle just blurred around her mouth area. I mean, you wouldn't notice it really if you weren't looking for it, because the whole thing is pixelated and not a very good camera or whatever, and that's probably purposely. But to notice just that little circle, it's like almost a perfect round blurred circle around her mouth. Have you ever noticed that? Dave, can you hear me, honey?
Yes, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking Dangerous Dave there. Yes, I did notice it, but the quality of everything that they gave us, it's like it's been, I don't know. Once they start redacting things, you got to wonder if they actually took stuff out of that video too. And
Right.
at times it almost looks like a voiceover, or at times it's almost like they took part of the recording out and they have the video where the lips are moving. But sometimes that happens with videos where, you know, it will go out of sync every once in a while, but then it catches up. So it's hard to say.
Yeah, that's what I always thought about it too. But then hang on. Then I was like, wait a minute. There is a perfect circle around her mouth. Like
Right.
it's almost purposely blurred. I don't know. It just looks like it's perfectly a little round circle blurred only around her mouth, even though the pixels everywhere else looks like hell too.
Yeah.
But okay, check it out. Check it out and tell me if I'm seeing things. But let me make it bigger. Tell me if I'm seeing things here. Does it look to you like there's a perfect round blur mark on her face?
It's hard to even think about that kind of stuff.
Mhm. You could strangle someone, you could drown someone,
Yeah.
you could shock someone to death, you could burn someone alive.
It's right here.
Yes.
Can you think of?
And it's like it's purposely just blurring her, right here.
Right. I mean,
You don't see it on him.
you could.
Nope, you can only see it on.
It's only here. So yeah, that I was like, wait a minute. They have got her mouth blurred out purposely. So like you can't, I don't know, maybe read her lips. I don't know. Maybe it just was some bad pixelation there, but it really looked like her mouth was blurred purposely to me. So we've lost Dave again. He'll be back in just a moment. You've tried to sync it? Yeah, it's to me it's very, very obvious. And I really hadn't ever noticed it before because I just thought the whole thing was just really bad camera quality or whatever. But then I got to looking at it because I was trying to almost read her lips, I guess, because some of it's very low. And I tried to bring up the volume, clean it up some, and then I was like, there is a literal circle blur on her mouth. It's there. Yeah. Them is very telling. Like there's so many plurals in this, right? I mean, he can't, it wasn't just him that time. It wasn't just him screwing up saying, we brought this, we brought that, we did this. What else is it, Dave? Forgive them for they know not what they do. I mean,
That's right. Yeah.
it wasn't just Chris using the plurals this time. This time, Tammy used the damn plural.
Yeah.
She said them too.
Well, then again, if you go to the court, so did
Exactly.
Frank.
Sally. You can't.
Frank said that evil woman, you know. So at that time, NK, they were talking about NK on court. But when it come time for the insurance money, Chris acted alone. So I don't know.
Right. It's very interesting. And to me, it's very obvious that they knew. Not only were they going to use the Reid on Chris, they knew exactly how to use it on him because they knew exactly what in the hell had already happened. They just had to get him to confess.
That's right.
They had to get him to confess. Sure, you're damn right they could have arrested him for circumstantial. Absolutely. So
But if
why
you
did they
go
want him
back to
to?
that day, what did he confess of? Because he goes, I did to her what she did to the girls. And then,
Right.
like, Ronnie had to say what? The strangulation, you know? And then same with Tammy Lee. She had to say it because Chris never ever did say it. And then that day, he said that Shanann killed the girls. So when he got arraigned in court, you look at Chris, he's looking at the judge's desk. His foot is going a mile a minute up and down, bouncing away. And he's not even listening to what's being said in court. And in court, they said that he killed everybody. Now, if his defense lawyer was actually doing his job, well, Chris just finished confessing just to killing Shanann. So why are you guys saying that he killed everybody now? That's the whole thing, all the way through. You know, so
Yes.
it's like they said, yeah, he killed them, but Chris says, no, I only did to her what she did to the girls. And it wasn't until the Dodge interview where they were leading him again. But even then, that nothing he said there counts at all because they started off, well, we're not going to jack you up on anything you say. They never read his rights or warning or any caution, so they can't really use anything at all that he said. So I'm sorry I went on again.
No, that's great. Thank you. It says here, as I drove by the neighborhood, this person lives close, or her daughter or his daughter lives close to them. It says there's many houses with Ring cameras. I have heard that there was more footage that the defense got from these Ring, from neighbors, but there again, we have nothing. We have nothing that the defense have. However, I did hear that the defense was able to get footage from, and I heard this from the family, from other neighbors, but of course we do not have access to that. But I did hear that there was more footage that the defense got, of course. The only thing we have in the discovery is the prosecution side. And that brings me back to this. Yes, they could have arrested Chris on the 15th, even if he continued to deny this. They could have for circumstantial evidence. However, circumstantial evidence would have given him a bond, right? He would have got a bond. They didn't want him to have a bond. They did not want him out of their sight. So they wanted to continue until they got a rock solid confession of murder. No matter how they had to get it out of him. And of course, they got it, with him talking about Shanann. But if they would have arrested him, and they could have, for the circumstantial evidence, then he could have got a bond. He would have got out, of course. And then at that point, he could have got an attorney. And this could have screwed everything up because then the defense was already trying. I mean, the defense filed motion after motion after motion. Literally every motion that the defense filed, the judge denied. Absolutely. And Rourke came in on top of their motions that they were filing, and he filed his own, and everyone Rourke filed, the judge granted. I hear that the motions are not in the discovery no more. I do have them all. I mean, but Yeah, it is a fact. Everything defense filed, judge denied. And that's why his attorney's team was like, you know, you might as well take a plea. You know, you might as well. And a lot of people thinks that Rourke is the one that offered the plea. No, he did not. He is not the one that originally offered a plea. The defense asked for a plea. And Rourke said he was shocked. He was shocked that they even asked for a plea. Why was he so shocked that they asked for a plea? Now think about that a minute. Why would that shock him? Was it maybe because he thought they were going to fight it and they had a hell of a good possible case? Or was it because of the immunity? Or what was it? He was shocked that they offered a plea. And then, of course, him and Steve had to go present the plea to the victim's family and see how they felt about it before Rourke would agree to, you know, give the plea, offer him the plea.
Yeah, so why would he even go down and stay, like actually stay, like doing a slumber party over at the Rusick's house? You know,
yeah,
that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, they were there a good, 3 days?
3 days, and they never went and talked to Cindy at all, yet they talked to everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're about to close this up. I want to let everybody know that I'm fixing to drop the entire book over on the other channel. It's taken me a while to get through it, but instead of putting it in parts, like I did The Perfect Father, it's just going to be one video where you can just stick your earpods in and listen. Letters from Christopher. So if you're interested in that, make sure you are joined, subscribed over to our other channel. I will be dropping that very soon. If nothing else, it gives you all something else to listen to while you fall asleep, because I hear people do that a lot with my books. So
Are you going
I
to warn
hope
about all the, how would you put it, the grammar and everything else about that book?
oh my goodness, Lord have mercy. I wasn't going to read it word for word, because even though the book's plagiarized, I just wasn't going to do that. I wasn't comfortable doing that. So I do a synopsis each time. But not only did I have to do a synopsis here, can't even talk. Not only did I have to do that with this book, literally about the only thing I could read that wasn't quoted from the discovery and things of that nature, I had to rewrite basically, because I don't know what the situation was, and definitely needed an editor. But let me say this. If she had a good editor and whatever part of the book was plagiarized or whatever, had that not have been in there, I think, and I know the Watts despise this lady, okay? And that's neither here nor there. It has nothing to do with me. I think she has the potential to where she could be a decent author, because she does put the time in to get to know these people. She takes this step in to go to the prison, you know, to meet them, sit down face to face with them, all that kind of thing. So she's got the potential, but she damn sure needs an editor. I'll say that. Interesting book. It is. I don't think it's as good as The Perfect Father, because I just don't.
And none of it was done in crayon.
Was crayon? What now?
Yeah.
Did you say crayon?
Yeah, it's just that the way that it's written, it could have been somebody writing it in crayon. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. Let me see. Maybe one of the mods can put the link to the Breaking Crime News channel in there, in case anybody is not already subscribed to that and do want to hear that book. And there's also lots of other things over there, but that's where I'm going to put my book reviews and synopsis and all that kind of thing. And let's see, what else was we want? Oh, next week, what's Wednesday? Let's all keep our fingers crossed that we don't have tornadoes here again and have to put it off till Thursday. But you know, I'm not sure what the topic's going to be next week. We have me, Dave, and Nellie. We went over a few things that we're going to talk about next week, but we're not decided on one. We try to keep it on just one area because it's just too much to try to take everything in at once. So yeah, Michigan Gal needs a link to the breaking news channel. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I just dropped it.
Okay. Yeah, y'all go ahead and make sure and subscribe over there as well. And that way you're going to get that book. And I'll be putting some more books over there. I just lots of different things over there. But I don't know yet what we're going to talk about, but I'll get the thumbnail out ASAP. I promise you it's going to be something interesting. And hopefully we can bring something to the table that you just wasn't aware of.
And if you
or
guys
just
have
hadn't
anything
thought
that
about.
wants to rip apart in the discovery too that we haven't talked about yet or haven't been talking about, just drop it in the comment section too, and we can take a look at it too.
Definitely put it in the comment section below if there's something that's just really got on your nerves, and if you want us to deep dive look into it and give you our thoughts on it, then we'll look at it and we'll.
That's the whole idea of having Watts Wednesday. Instead of hearing about the Watts that we've heard over and over and over again, we're trying to find something new and just get you to think more.
Right. And I hope with each of these that y'all are able to take something away from it that can get the wheels turning, make you start thinking, or as I say, maybe you can just learn something new. It's always important. All right, guys, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Thank you, Dave. Thank all the mods. I'm sorry I wasn't able to interact with the chat very much tonight, but I had so much put together, that I wanted to put out there and show you guys. And yeah, we've already almost been 2 hours, but I want to thank you all. And thank you, Dave. Mods, y'all are all great. I hope you all have a great day, night, evening, wherever you may be. And until next time, this is Unjustified.